Well, hello out there in guitar land. Hopper and I, mostly me, are going to give you a quick tutorial. Really, it's probably not going to be quick. A relatively thorough tutorial on how to play Mary Jane from Megadeth. Here's the situation. It is not a song for beginners, but I was asked by a particular person named Ignacio Almahn-aseed, or Almahn-aseed, or however you're supposed to pronounce it, about if I could put a tutorial up there, and up there meaning YouTube, and you're watching this now. Yes, obviously I can. So I'm very happy to share what I figured out, and I'm not entirely certain that I'm right, but I think I'm on the right track. I've seen a few videos of them playing it, and I've changed my mind about a few parts, but truth be told, I haven't played this since I did my cover of it back in late November of 2020. So I had to pick it up, learn it again real quick, and that's it. Some small notes. The guitar is tuned slightly sharp of E, so it's not, you know, if you're tuning straight to 440, it's not. It's probably closer to 4. But for all intents and purposes, somewhere between 10 and 15 cents sharp of proper, you know, E tuning. So it's a little on the sharp side. Now, Megadeth tunes themselves just a little bit sharper than that, so about 15 to 17 cents. And I think that's an artifact of recording that's above standard pitch. And I think that's an artifact of recording on tape. The same type of thing can be heard with Nuclear Assault, Metallica on various albums and whatnot. So without any further ado, part one. Okay, so the intro has two parts to it, and I'm going to divide this up into... Hello, kitties. So I'm going to divide this up into two parts myself. Each section is going to have its own rhythm, and if there's a lead that goes over it. Essentially, this is guitar 1, guitar 2, but I'm not going to compare who does what. But I do know for sure who plays what lead-wise. So I might as well just say Dave's part or Jeff Young's part. So, without any further ado, the rhythm behind the intro begins in E flat, and it just is a very simple 5th chord, and that's a pretty common rhythm for them at the time. You know, if you think about, like, In My Darkest Hour, it's the same type of thing. It's this... And that's all it is. It's descending in the whole scale, or the whole tone scale. Ends on F. And that's that. So... And I, on the video, do it this way, so if you see me do something different, it's just that in this case I'm just... like a note there. So, but that's F. So, if you need fret numbers, that's 6, 4, 2, open A, 3 on the low E string, and this is, of course, starting on the A string, 3, and then 2. So, the part that goes over that is a little more technically challenging. It has a lovely classical ring to it, and it also begins on E flat and descends in a kind of a whole tone pattern. Oh, excuse me. Also ending in F. So that's an if you're watching it at home, that's a 5th, E flat to B flat. And that's the last time he plays something like that. So at first, when I used to listen to it when I was a kid, I used to hear... But with older ears, it's only played that way once. Also, watching Dave do it back in '87 in a live shoot, he keeps going. So on the first part, once again, shift down, pick it back up. You're starting now with it's the same fingering, but now starting on the 9th fret with your index finger, then the 7th fret, then 5th, and then lastly on the 3rd. But of course it's not played that way. To play it faster. It's one of those kind of things. Alright, that's the end of part 1. So, I'm fairly weirdly sure that they were using a tremolo on this part. So, tremolo meaning whammy bar. So, there's a specific sound to it that you really can't get. I mean, I guess you can bend behind the get some kind of weird sounds that way, or if you don't have a locking nut, you can bend the strings back here, but it still doesn't sound quite the same. So on the 10th fret, there's no other guitar going at this time, so there's only one guitar part for this. And that's kind of bending up a half step. So faster, right? That's slide, hammer. Technically that's a hammer too. And you let that go. I sometimes do that. Well, anyway, so dang it. Then you slide up, 12. That's 12 to 15 here, or GD. Then slide up a minor third and play the same shape. Then back down. So, and that's a kind of a half step bend. It's just shy of a half step. So, with a little shaking to it. It's, you know, right there. And you're descending there in D minor. That's whole step, half step, or 15, well, we can do it G, F, E, or 15, 13, 12, 15, 13, 11 on the next string down, 14 on the next string down, 12, and then roll your first finger in, or you could, if you wanted to be special, play it with a different finger. Like so, as if you're going to keep descending down the scale. Excuse me. It just ends there. Anyway, so that's that. So, once again, faster. And that's that. Part 3. So part 3 is the neat little acoustic part. And we will not be playing it on a clean tone here, but it's going to come out kind of as a clean tone there. So you'll understand what I mean. So part 3 would be the acoustic part. And this has some complications to it. Simply because I could get deeply involved in music theory, and I've gone ahead and I've charted out the chords, exactly what he's playing, and you know what they are. But I'm gonna tell you what those are, and I'll put them on the screen as I play them. But specifically, one of the things that kind of rubs me the wrong way about music theory is that you really can go ahead and get all kind of caught up in the names of chords and why, what's what, and there's some simple rules to things, such as why is a sus chord a sus chord? Well, it doesn't have a third. Simple as that. Why is it a ninth chord? Well, it's got the third, so it's not a sus 2 or a sus 4. So it's as simple as that. Or you can play it as an add 9. So there's many different ways, incidentals and whatnot. There's many different ways of explaining the same thing. And the way some of these chords are explained, I think that they could be explained easier by just using a standard chord name and a subset to that, a bass kind of a note to that. Excuse me while I consume some Earl Grey. My tea Earl Grey hot is now tea Earl Grey cold. Excuse me. So, without any further ado, we start out in D minor, and it's an arpeggiated thing, so just get used to this. I sweep this part, and when we start to go for type of things, I'll start actually picking individual notes. But you'll see that in a second. So for this part, I just down, 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 up, up, down, 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 up, up, down. And there's a little circle there. So D minor. And he's really vamping between D minor and D augmented sus2. And that's basically D minor here. And augmented sus2, you're taking the fifth and you're augmenting the fifth. So it's an augmented fifth. E is the octave here. D, E would be, there's your suspended 2. There's no third in this. There's octave, sus2, and augmented sus2. It's got a great sound though, right? So play that for a little bit. Get used to it. Now we're going to start diving into the descending bass line. And so when you're descending on the bass line, there's a couple of things to take note of. For one, he doesn't stay D minor the whole way. For instance, he does here. So this is basically D minor with a C in the bass. So it could also be, D minor 7. There's, because C is a 7th to it, so D minor 7. But to me, that's just D minor over C. He takes this finger off, and now you have, for the next one, when he goes to B, so B, G, D again, and then F, that could be considered a G7 with a B in the bass, and I don't see any reason to correct that. That seems pretty good, because there's your G, 5, 7. It's a lovely sound. But, so, right. As we going, off we go. Now the B. Now we go to G, so 3rd fret on the low E string, and you're lifting this finger up now, so you get this nice. What is that? G7 or D sus9, sus4, or excuse me, D9 sus4 with the G in the bass. Yes, that's correct. So. But it could also be explained as a G6th, because it is. Right? Or G, that is. And I think that's easier to explain it that way. It's just a G6th. So, right here. Then a G6 with a C in the bass. In this case, it could be a D9 sus4 with a C in the bass. G6 with a B in the bass. Back to the D9 sus4 with the C in the bass. And then an E minor 13 with a C sharp in the bass. Okay? No. We're just going to stick with a D6 and we're going to call the basses different. Either way, it's correct. So, here we go. Excuse me. So I just slide up there, and instead of it being my pinky there, put that there. And if you have trouble with that, just work on doing that. Terrible sound, but it really wants to go home. Okay, so the next part is effectively the same. Until you get to here. So you go to B flat. That. And that's hard to do. The fingering is weird. So you're coming from here. And you have to use, not this, you can't just go, because you've got that to hit and that to keep simultaneously hit. It's kind of a Randy Rhodesy thing if you think about it. So the second part to that, the part that goes underneath, starts in a little bit later on, and it just kind of follows the basses that are underneath. You know, the chords themselves, the fifth chords or the sus chords, or excuse me, the augmented chords, will just follow along with whatever the basses are in the other chords that we were just doing. So, for instance, it starts here, C. Right? Doesn't quite sound right. It's got to be the augmented. So fifth, just shift this finger down one. And that's the only time you ever play that in the whole song. So. So part 4 is another iconic spot in this that is kind of leading the way towards, and I would say leading the way towards Hangar 18 and leading away from where it came from, which is When Hell Freezes Over, but everybody else calls it the Call of Cthulhu because Mustaine wrote that. So, or at least a lot of it. So, so now we're in E, and this is an E Locrian song, which is really neat. You don't hear a lot of tunes in Locrian, or Locrian if you prefer. It's the 7th mode of major, and in this case it'd be the 7th mode of F major if you're curious. So it's basically if you played an F major scale with an E at the bass. And it's got all the good dissonances in it. It's got a flat 5. It's naturally related to, like, the blues scale. Except there's no B in it. So whenever you hear that, they're throwing it in. It's all Locrian. Okay, so with a tangent aside, what we're actually playing here is... well, relatively simple. 3 notes. That would be 7, 5, 4. So, or the notes are B, E, B. And you slightly slide that up and then you play the next note. So it's got to sound like a... See, right there? And you're just raising these 2 notes and keeping that note the same for now. See what I'm doing? So that would be C, E, C, C, E, C. Then you raise up the whole thing and play a diminished shape. This would be C sharp, G, C sharp. Then we have this bluesy lick. So that E, G, we're bending up just a little bit. It's not quite a whole step. So, but it's a little higher than this. And it's just an E blues. Because why not? So, got it? So, and then we get this little lick. And that's a little challenging because your picking hand's kind of jumping around a little bit, and your fret hand is kind of doing a little bit of jumping too. So, right? Down, up, down. That's the G, so E, D, E. Yeah, no, excuse me. Back to the low E. You're just kind of bouncing all of this off of the low E. But that low E leads directly to the C. And that. So C, D, if you wanted to, that's fine, but don't. To the B flat, which is, this is 8, this is 6, by the way, so. Whole tone fits right into that, but it's still Locrian. And then you're right back to it. Okay, so there's a guitar part that goes behind that too. And it kind of goes like this. Now this is just E power chord with an extra B octave up there. And they only play that one, I believe, one time. And they double up on that part. So. So let's play that again. C sharp augmented. So, after the first time going to G, I believe it goes to D. So, and that's just G, F sharp, F. So 3, 2, 1. Once again. All right, so that leads directly into the verse riff. So let's go to the verse riff. So the verse riff. This is played up here. Now you can spider chord this if you like. I do a lot. So all that is E, C, A. So basically a nice minor arpeggio there for A. Play it there too if you wanted to. Giving you options. You choose. Me, personally, either go like that or spider chord. They also have a nice opportunity for a 7th there. B flat, or it's the tritone. That's B flat, A, G, 6, 5, 3. At speed. So the trickiest bit is this part. This gets played over that. Or sometimes. Right? So this is essentially doing kind of what we're doing here. But in a weird way, it's kind of James Bond, right? But not. Sorry, it's Megadeth. So, on the B, which is your 9th fret, on the D string, octave, 12th fret, B again. So it's B, B. That's a D note. So on the 10th fret. Great finger exercise, by the way. You're just going to keep going back and forth between, and you're raising these notes the whole time. So. Harmonics. 12th fret, 7th fret. And that's pretty much it until we get to this next part. So the next part begins where that all ends. I must not be insane. That's 6/5 or B flat A. So on that, 5, 6, 7. So or D sharp or E flat, whatever you want. E. B flat to C. 6, 8. 5, 3. Or G, F. So. Then this part. Right? Okay, so if you wanted to slow down YouTube, you could see what I just did there, but I'm going to slow it down for you anyway. Good times. So that would be, or however you want to hold the power chord. So again, D, E flat, E, G, G. Slide up really quickly to the B flat. Now, I used to play it, but it doesn't have the right inflection. The reason why is, if you watch him play it live, he does this. So, and that's 1, or open, 1, open, 3, open, E, A, excuse me, that is G. So just going down. From G, F, open. So just gallops. Then this part had me vexed for years. That's essentially what it is. Which would be a G. And somebody plays it higher. So this works fine. Which is G. Believe it or not, that's G. There's a G, G. And this is just a fifth of G. We're bringing the fifth lower. And that's G, G sharp. So which if ever I heard a Chris Poland riff, that's what one sounds like. Now the fun part. Here's the fun part. Okay, so that, pretty simple. You can play it up here if you want, but it's a bigger traveling distance, so I wouldn't recommend it necessarily. So you see what I mean? A little less. And it doesn't sound like when he slides down, it doesn't sound like he's going, there's not a big dive to it. So this sounds right to my ears. And that's 4, 4, or B, F sharp, G, F sharp, E. And you're saying, but Kirk, what about that neat little harmony part? It's very simple. The harmony part is, so it's a fourth higher. If you wanted to play it there, you can. But it's the other guitar player doing it. So if you're doing this, I mean, you could do that if you want, but it's the other guitar player just comes in and does that one time. And that's it. And then after that, it's the rest of it. So all that is, and played up to speed, is pretty much the whole way through. So here's where it gets fun. It's hard to play because of the way you're picking it. Just watch the picking hand. Now, I have no idea if he's doing like... But it wouldn't surprise me. Mustaine is a freak of nature when it comes to his picking hand. And it is no easy skill to reckon with. Trust me. Anyway, so my opinion, of course, is if you can play it and it sounds right, okay. That's probably, even if it's not the way it's originally played, it's fine. Do the best you can, you know? Especially if you're just starting out, because this is, again, not for beginners. And if you were a beginner, by the time you get to skilled, mastery of this, you have plenty of time to perfect a Dave Mustaine crazy technique, like lots of down picks and then all up picks, on the very now percussive chords. Well, at any rate, there's some leads that go over the top of that, and I'll get to that now. No, I won't, because I didn't finish telling you what chords they were. E, D, F, C, D. Basically, it's C, D, E, and F. That's it, just different trade-offs of it. Got it? Okay, now let's cover the leads. The leads are a little nuts. So, on the lead, slight bend to C from B. So, I'm a child of the air, I'm a witch of the wind. And really, I'm not entirely sure what he's doing. So there is some delay on this. And, lo and behold, if Jeff Young ever watches this, maybe he can mention, hey, Kirk, you're dead wrong. This is more like what I did. So, anyway, you kind of do the wind up and the pitch technique where it's tremolo picking on the E here. And you're just basically descending down in some sequence. And you're muting the whole time. There's a lot of Al Di Meola in this. It's essentially, again, F major, so or D minor in this case. So F, E, D, Fed. F, E, D. It's glowing. It's a Fed. Anyway, F, E, D, C, B flat. It's just like C major, except the B is flattened. So G, F, E. And then just, we're continuing D and shift down to the E back there and hang out on the B for a second. So everything else is easy after this part. So that's it. Okay, so wind up, tremolo picking here. Now, if you're in pretty good picking hand shape, which I am not right now, you can pick that whole thing, or you can heavily mute it. And that's... there's... something like that. Slow it down. There are speed controls in the lower... that side. There it is. And move on from there. Boy, that was fun. So fingers grip round my brain, no control, my mind is lame. So That's that. It's all off of C. C to, well, essentially 17, 16, 14, 12. This is always on 17. Slide down to 10, or F. And that's that. So that's on E, or 17th fret, 16th fret, or B. Or is it? Let's find out. Yeah, I was right. And then I'll never be the same. Never, 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 never. So the last kind of fun part and the last bit of the tune. We've made it this far. Hooray. And it's going to take place between sort of what we were playing in the first place with the... Yeah. Anyway, and it's... So we made it all this way. So this is pretty much the last part of the tune, and it's a fun one. And it requires two guitars for it to sound right, but if you're just playing along, you can kind of choose what part, of course, that you're going to play. And it's going to bounce between... and... So E, low E, and then F sharp, or excuse me, F. So. And that's what the first guitar does. It just goes back and forth between the two. That's so with the help of our B, F sharp, and G again. Now F. Slide that to the C note up here. 4, 5, 7, 5. Hammer on pull off from 4 to 5. And that's only on the Fs. So E's. Now the second guitar, the second part where there's some harmonies there, so they'll both play the same thing at the same time, the first time around. So. This is the fun part. You could also play that, you know, here. So... pretty neat. And that's that. So, after that, so... the very end riff... if you prefer, whatever you like, or Obviously, that's more tricky to do than playing it up here. So what am I playing there? So it's from F to F, F, E, F sharp, G, and then from there you proceed up a G, or excuse me, the E minor scale, all the way to the fifth. So B, 7, 6, 5, open. That's essentially it. Well, I'm slightly apologetic, not very, but I'm slightly apologetic about the D minor Al Di Meola-ish riff from Jeff Young. Jeff is a ripping, amazing guitarist. Had a very interesting time in Megadeth, of course, but, what else is to be said? He started playing, I believe, on that track. It was the first one that we heard Jeff Young on. Everything else was both Mustaine and Poland, although I don't believe he was given credits until the remaster, but still, he was there. Good times. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them, as you can tell. But if you have any questions whatsoever about technique or approach or anything like that, like I said, shoot them my way. I'll be happy to field the questions and hopefully give you some sort of satisfactory answers, with the exception, of course, of that crazy Jeff Young sequence that he plays at ridiculous hyperspeeds. And when my picking hand decides to cooperate, because I'm an old fella now, when my picking hand decides to cooperate, I can usually attack it with a little bit more finesse. But at any rate, it was a pleasure, and I hope that anybody who watches this, gets something out of it, even if it's just a matter of, hey, I always want to learn how to play that Megadeth tune. But, stay away from the tabs, kids. Use your ears. That's how I figured it out. That's how you should, too. It's the only way to fly. This is a conversational language, after all, music is. And, what the heck? You're using tabs. You're stunting your growth completely. Having a conversation like this is helpful. Using your ears is helpful. Tabs? The hell, man. They're no good for you. Peace, everybody. Be well.